Welcome to the Stickers on the Mic podcast, brought to you by StickerGiant.com, where we talk with our customers about how they started their business, how they're marketing their brand, and how they're growing their company. Without further ado, it's time for the Stickers on the Mic podcast from Sticker Giant. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stickers on the Mic. This is Andrew with you once again. Very excited to be dialing in Faheema Chaudhury from the LA area and Unicorn Crafts. That's your brand, right?
Yes, it is. Hello.
So tell us more about Unicorn Crafts and how it all came to be.
Yeah, sure. So Unicorn Crafts has a sad origin story, but I promise it has a happy ending. It started in 2010. My mom had just passed away from ovarian cancer. I was working in the Bay Area at an art studio that I loved. I was running a photography studio. And when she got sick, I moved back home, quit my job. She ended up passing away 2 months into me being back home. So I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't want to just go out there and find another job. Going back to the Bay Area was not an option just because my dad is older and I had to be here to take care of him. So I was just looking for a way to really just cope with the death. And, you know, art has always been a very pivotal character in my entire life. So I turned to art for some healing. I was just sort of like, what can I do that I haven't already done? And I found jewelry making. So I was researching that, ended up opening an Etsy shop. A few months later, did my first craft show, got a wholesale order, had no idea what that was about. And I was just like, I think I can make a business out of this. So here we are 10 years later. I have grown a lot since my first days of doing craft shows, flying by the seat of my pants to today.
That's awesome. And, okay, it's not awesome. Like you said, it's a sad origin, but you're moving towards, you're always striving for the happy ending, right?
Absolutely.
Which is pretty obvious from your social. And as we were chatting before, you know, happily ever after and all the Disney stuff you do. It's a big motif. And, you know, when you're in Southern California, that's kind of home base. So you're at Unicorn Crafts on Instagram, and that's kind of where we connected. That's where our sort of story came to be. You're unicorncraftsart.com. And you've got, of course, this beautiful unicorn. Talk a little bit about, we're big fans of unicorns in our house and at Sticker Giant. There's so many unicorns in our, business, like people who print with unicorn designs. Why Unicorn Crafts, like the name, and then talk a little bit about coming up with the logo.
Unicorn Crafts came from just my love of obviously unicorns and all things super cute and fantastical and just magical. And so if you were to, you know, talk to me maybe 10, 15, you know, little Faheema, baby Faheema, she'd be like, yeah, I love mermaids. I love unicorns. I love fairies. I love magic. So Unicorn Crafts really just recreates that childhood feeling, that childhood nostalgia into people of all ages. You don't just need to be a child to appreciate Unicorn Crafts. I have clientele from, 2 to 50, 60, 70-year-old, and older. So I always tell people, if you're a kid at heart and you are not taking yourself too seriously and you love color and you love fun designs, then Unicorn Crafts is for you. And so that's how the name came about. And the logo just sort of, it was inspired by the Sanrio unicorn that little twin stars have. And so that was my starting point, because I really love the Sanrio clean design. And so I was just like, I really like this. So it was all, very clean vector designs at the beginning. And the logo unicorn is called Unicorn Friend. So I like to keep it sort of open-ended about Unicorn Friend. You could take Unicorn Friend and make him or her or them whatever character that you want to. You can put your own story into that character. So it's not just here is, X, Y, and Z of this character's backstory. It's no, it's very open-ended, very free, just like the brand. It's however you want to take it and have it represent you and your style.
Nice. And and speaking of style, you have all kinds of different styles of products, right? We met because of a sticker, a connection, which was awesome. But you have a pretty wide range, it would seem.
I do. Yeah. So when I first started Unicorn Crafts, it was very crafty, hence the name Unicorn Crafts.
Right.
So I was doing things like button jewelry, and then I started making shrink ink jewelry. And if you don't know what that is, which I didn't at the time, it's a bakeable, shrinkable plastic that I put my art on. So I was drawing out my designs, coloring it, cutting it out, baking it in the oven, believe it or not, and it shrinks to about 50% of its original size, and then creating wearable pieces from there. Mm-hmm. About maybe 5 to 6 years ago, I started manufacturing enamel pins and enamel earrings.
Right.
And because of the pandemic, I've sort of taken a step back from manufacturing and gone back to handmade items. So I've been deep diving into the world of polymer clay. So I've been doing a lot of handmade jewelry, a lot of handmade trinket dishes, and recently I've been starting to paint trinket dishes as well as planters and pots, because everyone, of course, adopted plant babies over the pandemic. So I was just like, you know what? There needs to be more cute aesthetics into that whole world too. So I'm sort of like quietly, infiltrating that space as well.
Nice. Because, well, what I was going to say was, you said you sort of pivoted your thinking a little bit, and you introduced masks. That wasn't a product a year and a half ago. It just wasn't a thing. Like, nobody cared about having candy corn mask chains, for instance, right? But not now.
But here we are.
Here we are. So with all that, though, like you say, like the evolution of your product line, even original, watercolor paintings, for instance, that's like. Just again, that range is wide. What's your favorite of all the stuff you've been doing lately?
I really love making things with my hands. So definitely the polymer clay pieces that I've been doing have been so much fun, because not only am I making, an end product that's a wearable, but it just to see the evolution of it from being like a piece of clay to then a wearable piece of art has been so fun, and just learning these processes and just watching endless amounts of TikTok videos and YouTube tutorials to sort of learn all these new techniques from this one medium. It's been really fun. But I also really just like you mentioned, the original watercolor paintings. I love, showing that side of my artistic side as well to people, because they might not really connect the dots of like seeing an end piece and like tracing it back to be like, you're the artist that made this. Because a lot of people don't have that mentality to make that connection unless you're like in the creative entrepreneurial business. So they see, say, an enamel pin or a pair of earrings, and they just think it's an end product without really thinking like, oh, you're the artist that made the sketch, that then finalized the sketch, that then sent it to a manufacturer that made your product. So it's not like I'm just buying the stuff off of Alibaba or Etsy or whatever and reselling it. I'm in charge of it 100%. And it's really hard for people to make that connection. So when I do present them with original artwork and, my behind the scenes sketches and things like that, I'm trying to close that gap with like, I'm the actual artist. You might know an artist as being, someone who can draw or paint or do digital art. Yes, that's me too. I do that in addition to everything else that you see. Because my roots are definitely in animation. I've always wanted to work in animation, character design, background design. Of course, wanting to work at Disney is like always everyone's big goal if you want to work in animation. Growing up watching these Disney films, cartoons, Tom and Jerry and all that stuff too. And I'm just like, I want to do that. I want to create that type of happiness that I experienced. And so though I still do want to do that, and I'm working on my portfolio to get my foot in the door in the animation business, I'm also bringing that feeling into my own brand.
Totally. It's kind of hard, the center of gravity when you live in Southern California, just in entertainment, but then Disney, has a pretty big role in that. And folks who listen to the show all the time know that I'm a big Star Wars geek. And we had a Disney sort of artist, not a Disney artist, but someone doing Disney products, kind of like yourselves, what you're doing there. And that's a big segment of people who do sort of creative work around the Disney characters. You have a few of those things. How is that part of your business, I guess?
Yeah, so I definitely do fan art, but it's to a degree that it's not. So that's the official term, fan art. But I feel like fan art has kind of like a bad taste to it, because
Sure.
people think like, oh, fan art, you're taking somebody else's IP and just recreating, X, Y,
Right.
and Z. And while, yes, that is true with me personally, when I do fan art, I don't take, those recognizable characters like, Aladdin or Jasmine or, the princesses or
Yeah.
the main characters. I like to focus on the background details,
Yeah.
tertiary characters, secondary characters, and sort of shine the spotlight on those things that, are kind of like Easter eggs that you would maybe just gloss over when watching the film or seeing it in the parks. So, for example, like I have this whole Alice in Wonderland collection that really focuses in on like the flowers, the bread and butterfly, the pencil bird. I've got washi tapes of all these characters. I've got enamel pins and enamel earrings. So I don't have Alice. I don't have the White Rabbit. I don't have Cheshire Cat, but I have all these little like background details that I love and I like to focus in on. So with my brand, I like to make what I personally love. You'll never see me just like cashing out and being like, oh, that's a popular character. Let me go ahead and draw it in my style and resell it because I know it's going to like sell out. It's more like, well, what do I personally love and how can I put my own spin on this and not just be like, here's something you can find in the park and in my shop. It's like you have to come to my shop to get these like really subtle nods to Disney. And like even in my, Disney designs, like I've got a mint julep pin. And, if you're not familiar with mint juleps, you're just going to think it's a cocktail. But there's a very delicate, detailed screen printed detail of like a hidden Mickey on there. So it's like if you know, you know. So it's like if you're in the club, you know what it's about.
Yeah, and where do they have the mint juleps there? It's
at the Mint Julep Cafe at the French
exactly.
Market.
Market,
in
that's where it
North
is.
Square. Yes, ask me all the Disney facts.
That would be that's in Frontier. That's in Frontierland then, or whatever, right? Or
it's
something.
in New Orleans Square. If we're getting technical.
Yeah. Okay, we are getting technical, but no, like we said, the Disney show is a whole nother story. Back to TikTok, right? Like you mentioned that, and I wanted to circle back to that because, like I said, a lot of businesses are using that as a tool, and I was just doing some little homework on it too last night because I was like, when did TikTok really kind of like elevate in a way? And they this story about Lil Nas X and how he created a lot of content and was one of the first sort of micro platform crossover stars. How have you been? You said you were learning a lot from that. Are you also trying to reach out and engage that too? There's sort of the consumption and then the creation side. How are you juggling these platforms? I mean, Instagram and TikTok are probably the best drivers for businesses like yourselves because it's so visual and colorful. Like you're again, it's at Unicorn Crafts, folks. Your Instagram is just blowing up with pink and purples, pastels, and you know what I mean? Like that's what you do.
Yes.
How do you both differentiate, but then also find a way to make it efficient for you to create content like that? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm definitely a student of the University of TikTok. I have learned so much from it. Not just like, cooking and just like housing housekeeping things, but also you have to curate your own algorithm. So I make sure to watch videos when I'm interested in learning about polymer clay, about like polymer clay techniques and things about, painting pots. So I consume that type of content, but I also put out content. And it wasn't until fairly recently that I got serious about putting out content as well as consuming it, because I have seen that it has helped a lot of small creatives grow their business, get more eyeballs to them, grow their Instagram account. Like I definitely still very much use Instagram. It is my main platform of, trying to get eyeballs and like making my announcements about, shop updates, events that I'm having. But also I've noticed that TikTok is a very fun way to just sort of show another side of you that's not so curated. Right. And we all know Instagram is highly curated and it's done that way purposefully because it is a visual platform. And because we're moving towards like these small, these short form video content now, we sort of have to learn how to use it. I'm still very much learning. Like yesterday, I spent all day sort of just like researching TikToks, figuring out what type of, content I want to make and put out. Because yes, I have made some content already. And I'd say in the last month, I've taken it really seriously where I'm posting, at least once a week. I'm going a week ahead of time, making that content, writing all the captions and hashtags and having it ready to go, as opposed to just posting on the fly. Because I feel like if you don't schedule that ahead of time, it gets very overwhelming. And
Right.
so I'm doing that for both of my brands, my personal brand, which is Hello Faheema, and then my business brand, which is Unicorn
Right.
Crafts. So I'm making two different kinds of contents, but also making it so it correlates with my Instagram feeds. And I'm also like doing reels. So I'm basically a content manager for four brands. So it's like two brands on TikTok, two brands on Instagram.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, the personal brand thing is really hard. Just because I don't know, I struggle with this as someone who like has the brand for Sticker Giant, and then, you know, my name is my name, and, you know, I have a presence online and do things, and you're really trying to commodify and monetize that. So that's, I can imagine, is really exhausting.
It is.
And there's a tone, right? What'd you say?
I make sure to take 2 days off during the week. I don't post on the weekends. Those are my days off.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't need to worry about it. But also, like, you know, if you're not constantly feeding into TikTok and Instagram's algorithm, they're sort of like, oh, you don't care about us? Cool. We're gonna, you know, kind of not show your stuff to everyone.
No, it's natural, and, you know, we're constantly monitoring that stuff ourselves, as are a lot of people who listen to the show and people who work online. So I've already called out your websites. We've done a little deep dive into that. You know, with these promotions, are you running any ads or anything like that too?
No, I don't run any ads. It's all just my own user-generated stuff. Like my followers will repost things. I'm constantly reminding them, like week of, that I have an event, which you would think it would get boring to see the same sort of information over and over presented in different ways, but you don't realize that, you know, less than half of your followers are actually seeing your stuff the first time, the second time, the third time. So maybe on the fourth or fifth time, they're like, oh, I didn't know about that. Let me, you know, jot that down so I can like attend that event or know about this sale. So I had a pop-up event on Saturday, and like the week of, I was just like, okay, here's your reminder. I'm just going to constantly keep doing this, because it's just how the social platforms work now. Like, you have to, if you want people to see your stuff, you have to put yourself out there. It's no longer a passive thing where you're just like, I'm just going to post this static thing and people are going to flock to my event or my site. You have to put in a lot more work now.
So you've got in person coming back, right? Like, I mean, that must be a nice lift, you know, if you're able to get back in front of people.
Oh yeah.
How, you know, with last year being what it was, with a lot of quarantine, what did you see from as you know, a small business owner?
Besides, you know, the initial freak out and just panic that sets in, where you're just like, because I do a lot of in-person conventions and shows, and it was just like within one fell swoop, it was just like gone. So once WonderCon decided that they're not doing their live shows, it was just a domino effect after that. So it was just like, okay, my entire like year's worth of income is just gone. What am I going to do? And so I had to pivot within literally hours of just hearing all that news and just being like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? So before I got onto TikTok, I was just on Instagram, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to start having Instagram live sales, basically a mini online convention before that became a thing. And so I would just advertise it to my followers and just be like, okay, on Tuesdays, at this time, join me on my live, and I'm going to have these items available, and, you know, people would claim them. So there would be, you know, maybe like 5 of this certain enamel pin and 3 of this certain earring. So the first 5 comments with your handle in the comment section, you get to claim the item. And then I would have to manually send them the invoice, and then make sure to follow up if they haven't sent their payment, and then ship out their item. So it was a lot more steps for me on the back end, but that's how I had to do it. And then I found Pop Shop Live through a friend, which is basically like a QVC platform. Yeah. And so I was using that as a way to do online events where they took care of a lot of the invoicing stuff on their back end because it's built into the platform. They do take a commission. So, you're giving up something to get something. And then when shows started doing their online events like DesignerCon and Enamel Market and WonderCon were doing, their at-home versions of their show, that's definitely been helpful because they already have their built-in audience that's coming to this event. So it was a lot less, work on my end. I just had to show up with my product and my bright personality and just be like, here, buy my stuff. And that worked out.
Right. So yeah, just to follow up on that, the one thing was Comic-Con, which is huge, of course, in San Diego, puts on WonderCon, and then they did it at home this past year. But I presume they'll be back in person in 2022. Did you do the at-home event, so to speak, or
I did do the at-home event, and that's what I mean. Like, because the audience is built in and they sort of know what to expect, you're just there with your stuff ready to go, and just let people sort of take their time to make those purchases.
Did it work?
Support you. It did work.
Did it work? Okay.
It did work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Anything that keeps me from schlepping my products from show to show, from city to city, I'm all about.
Interesting. Yeah. Because so you said like a really high touch thing, and it's good for you. So real quick, we're gonna have to wrap this up. Looks like I got somebody else dialing in here. I'm gonna pause real quick, and I'll tell this person I'm gonna call back. Hey there, can I give you a call back real quick? We don't have this person live yet. I'm going to put him in a waiting room. I can do that. That's right. We live in the year 2021. Cool. That was no. It's all good. I'm pretty stacked up on these things. This happens all the time, and I like to talk and I like to run long.
I do too.
Yeah. So that's a good natural stopping point from the. You said it worked. My last question was. Here, let's pause again because I can just cut all this super easy. Okay. Cool. So last question. If you could have told, you said little Faheema, but how about like early stage entrepreneur Faheema 10 years ago, what would you say to her now that all the things you've learned?
I would tell her that she's an amazing artist and that everyone loves her work for what it is, and she shouldn't compare herself to the things going on around her, all the noise from the outside world, because, putting your stuff out there on social media, obviously you're going to compare it to other people. And that is, I think, an artist's downfall. But also I would tell her that she's doing what she loves and people are responding really well to it. And I know that she hates doing taxes. So if she could put a little bit aside every month to hire an accountant and hire a bookkeeper, that is something she would definitely appreciate.
Did you do that? Have you done that?
You know what? I actually just applied for a grant. It's for South Asian women business owners. And that was my reasoning for them, because they're like, tell us what you're going to do with this money if you get it. I was like, I'm going to create more jobs for people by hiring them to be my bookkeepers and my accountants. So please give me this grant.
Oh man, I'd love to. Good luck with that. You know what I mean. We'll follow up on that and see how that goes, because that could change your life. You know what I mean. Like, you gotta delegate to elevate is what we sort of say at Sticker Giant through our business philosophy we run called Traction.
I love that.
Yeah, well, it's from a book called Traction, which is how we run our business right now, along with Open Book Management. And those are both great business books as you grow your business to figure out how to manage people and all that stuff. So good luck with that. And thanks again for engaging with us on Instagram. That amazing, folks, Faheema sort of tags us and does this amazing little video. And we had like this, we all had this moment. We shared it through our company Slack, and everyone's like, we're like, see, it works. Like if we put in that extra step and people see that we have delight in our jobs, they'll have delight for the customers. And that was really,
it made me so giddy to get that box. I was just like, it took elements from my sticker and put it on the box. Like little things like that just brighten your day.
Yeah, totally. So thank you for that engagement. That goes for all of you out there. Engage with us. Send us a note. Find at Unicorn Crafts on Instagram. There's a link tree there with all the other links. The TikTok is Unicorn Crafts _, and the website is unicorncraftart.com. Faheema, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this year with all the things as the world opens up and you're able to keep meeting and greeting people and showing them what you're all about.
Yay, thank you so much.
So, folks, every sticker has a story. This one, we started with a little, a tough story that has a happy ending, at least for the end of this episode. We're ending on a high note. And the stickers are, of course, this theme that really fits in with the Unicorn Crafts brand. And there's a lot of different options out there. And we happen to print a few of them for her. So we encourage you all to go check that out. As always, it's a pleasure to be here, and we will see you next time.
That wraps up this episode of Stickers on the Mic, brought to you by StickerGiant.com. You can download us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again for listening to Stickers on the Mic. We'll see you next time.